social media grows with us, grows to different phases. There's different feelings. There's feelings of fear of judgment. Then there's pushing through those barriers, pushing through those feelings, putting yourself out there, failing, trying again, doing new things, and then new things come into the play, and you're reintroduced to new feelings and new things that you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And like feeling, oh, what are people gonna say about me if I start posting this? And so there's like all of these things where you grow and you move and then new things come in. But at the end of the day, a really big thing, if you take anything from this, is that I am super stoked to have this opportunity to have another story time with Selina. So today I'm going to be talking about likes, followers, views, fear of judgment, and social media. All those great things. I have come into a lot of sources lately that I feel very inspired to talk about this topic with you. And also in my past interviews, I've been talking a little bit about social media with some of my guests, just to see how it affects them and what they do with their social media platforms. So I'm very excited to talk about all that. But before we jump in, I just wanted to talk about a couple things. First of all, I wanted to thank you. Thank you so much for coming along on this journey and listening to my podcast every 2 weeks. You guys are constantly showing up, and it has just been crazy how fast this podcast has grown and how many episodes that we've been able to publish. I can't believe we are on the 21st episode. And while I'm on that note, I saw this TikTok. Now, I know my source is not great, but this guy named Ronald Frazier, he made this TikTok and he did some research on like podcasts and how to like market your podcast. And I'm sharing this with you guys because it's super exciting. And even if it's not true, it's just exciting and a cool way to think about it. So he discovered that to be in the top 1% of the podcasting world, you only have to go past episode 21st to become the top 1% of podcasts in the world. It's so crazy. And he says this because the 2 million people that are doing podcasts don't make it to that many episodes and usually end up stopping way before it. So once you've achieved that 21st episode and you keep going after that, you're technically considered to be in the top 1% of podcasts. I mean, like, it's so mind-blowing. And despite if it's true or not true, it's something that really, really excites me to just really appreciate how far we've come, how many stories we've been able to share, and that you've been able to learn and grow through and feel less alone. And really, I hope that these podcasts have been helping you, because they have been helping me as well. I always love hearing the way that people tackle situations and how they pivot and how they grow. And it's just been such a blessing to hear all these stories, and we have so many coming up. Like, I have a trip coming up in April and May, and so I have done a whole bunch of interviews to prep to make sure while I'm away, you guys still get your podcast every second week. And I'm telling you, the interviews that I've been having are just absolutely mind-blowing, so inspiring, so powerful, and just so real. I think that's the most one of the best things about this podcast is that these are real people. These are people that I've either met in my life or I found on social media and reached out to them. And also people that have approached me that want to be on this podcast. So it's all just been this like crazy roller coaster of a thing, but it's been worth every single minute, all those hours, all the editing, all the filming, everything. It's just been so rewarding to be able to share so many wise words with all of you guys. So I guess, considering this episode and moving forward, we are now at the top 1% of podcasts in the world. So exciting. I mean, again, if this is not even something real, it's just exciting that I've been able to push and get this much content out. So look out, world, there's more coming. And on that note, if you are interested in sharing your story on this podcast, I would love to take some time and sit down with you and talk about your story, some of your struggles, some of your challenges, how you overcame things, some of the best times in your life. I'd love to sit down and chat with you. So you can message me and contact me on all my social media platforms or my email, which you can find everything in the episode notes below and in all the episode notes of every single episode. You can find a way to contact me somehow, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, any way you can. Any way you want to, you can. And that's also another reminder that you can also get all of these podcast interviews. You can actually watch them on YouTube now. All you have to do is go into your YouTube search bar, search Selina Novello, and my account will come up, and then you will get access to all of the recordings from the One World Countless Stories podcast. And that has been super cool as well, because now not only do you get to hear us, but you also get to see us. And if you know me, I love talking with my hands. I'm doing it right now. So it just adds to the conversation, I feel. So you don't want to miss out on that. Make sure you go over there and check out those videos. All right, before we get started, I just have one more thing to ask of you guys. So I would love it if you could leave a review or a rating or subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you are on. I know you can do it on Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon Music, all the places that you get your what's the other one? The other one's Google. All the places you get your podcast. It would mean the world to me if you would leave a review, comment something that this podcast has done for you, or something that you learned, or something that has changed your mindset. That would mean the world to me and would just make me feel so grateful. I'd love to hear your feedback and get some reviews on this podcast so we can keep growing and sharing the good news and sharing the stories and sharing the struggles and sharing the real parts of our lives with the world. All right, let's get started. I am very, very excited about today's episode because I have been wanting to talk about this for a while, because I do social media as my work pretty much. So I work for a lot of people and I run their social media accounts. I do marketing and I do lots of interesting things with social media for myself as well, like on TikTok and Instagram, and then starting my own YouTube channel and all of these things. And so I'm very passionate about talking about this. And I've been asked a couple times, like, what my opinion of social media is. And so today I'm going to be sharing my social media. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to be sharing my social media journey with all of you guys from the very beginning all the way to now, and how I view content, Instagram, not through a business lens, more just through a personal lens. And I'm also, at the end, I'm going to give you some strategies to help you create a positive and really a positive and safe social media that makes you feel good when you leave the app. So I'm very, very excited for today's episode. And if you've listened to a couple of the past episodes, I've been bringing it up a little bit more and more, seeing what people's opinion on social media is. And a really, really good talk that I had with Morgan Storch, which was episode 18, a couple episodes ago. I highly recommend you go check that one out, because she had this experience where she just saw a bunch of, Instagram Barbies, she called them, and wanted to be real. And now, she uses her platforms to be as real as possible and just be a positive light in people's life, which I absolutely love. So I highly recommend that you check out that episode and hear a little bit about Morgan's social media journey, as well as she's got businesses on there. So her episode was just really awesome. So if you haven't listened to that one, I highly recommend it. But why I really got inspired to talk about this was there was a bunch of, like, I don't know if we're going to call them signs or just things that were happening to me. And I was listening and hearing and talking about things. And like, the thing with me is I have this like very deep passion for social media, for inspiring, for helping people. And I thought the best way to do that is through social media, especially just the way that our world is today. All right. So the thing with me is important to know is that I really want to be like a content creator. Technically, already I'm a content creator, but a content creator that actually makes money off of doing social media, doing TikTok, doing YouTube, doing this podcast because it's something that I genuinely love. My heart lights up every time I make a TikTok. I'm either laughing, I am having the best time of my life, or I'm able to use a more creative light. So I have this like, I want to be a YouTuber, like all the kids' dreams. But that's something that's been really big on my mind lately that I've been putting out a lot of content, and it's been interesting because I have been growing, but at a slower rate. But I'm very thankful for my growth in general. But it's been interesting because I've been putting so much pressure on it and so much pressure on myself. And these like sources kind of came into my life. So the first thing was the Charlie D'Amelio or the D'Amelio family show. I'm not sure what it's called. It's on Disney Plus. And if you don't know who that is, that's a famous TikToker. She's got like hundreds, millions of followers. And I really found their show interesting because like I wasn't watching it for the drama or anything. I just wanted to see the behind the scenes, what it's actually like to become that famous. And the interesting thing was that they have so much stuff which they're very grateful for, but they still have issues. They're still not happy all the time. They still have anxiety. And I know for me and a lot of people, sometimes it feels like, well, if I'm famous and I have all this money, how could I have any issues? Like, how would there be anything? But I think that sometimes when famous or people share their stories on, Disney Plus, Netflix, wherever they do, it brings light to the whole fame thing in that it's not as glamorous as it may seem. The other thing that I was watching was the Hype House on Instagram, or sorry, the Hype House on Netflix. And that one is about a bunch of TikTokers, again, that have millions of followers and that live all in the same house. Like, I didn't even know these people existed before until Netflix. So I was really, really interested. Again, very down the path where I want to be, where it's like a TikToker, YouTuber, that kind of stuff. And I really realized how they feel the same way as they did when they had 100 followers versus 2 million followers. A lot of those feelings are very, very deep. And if you don't work on yourself and work on the happiness, then those feelings don't go away. Maybe temporarily, you're like getting all this success, getting all this fame, all this money. It's really awesome. But from what I can see, that's kind of what I got out of those, is that it's like they still struggle. They still have real issues that go on in their lives and feel real feelings of, not being happy, depressed, stressed. Like in my head, I think, oh my gosh, being famous, like I'd be so like, woo, like no stress. But in reality, it's a lot more. It almost seems like there's more pressure and all of that stuff. These two things were like major. I've been seeing like quotes and videos and a bunch of stuff along the lines of like, what does fame really do? And all this different things. But those were like two really big influences on me that kind of got me thinking, that kind of motivated me and inspired me to talk a little bit about my social media experience. Not that I have thousands of millions of followers. I literally have hundreds. So I would consider myself someone with smaller following, but just it's very interesting to hear people's experiences with social media. So now I'm going to kind of roll into my experience and what it was like for me. So growing up, I got on Instagram when I was really, really young. Like I think I was in grade 5 or 4. And at that time, it was like the most innocent platform ever. Like I remember posting pictures of like cake, rainbow cake, because it looked cool. And these little box guys, which are so adorable. I still can't handle it, but like that's what I post on my Instagram page. Now, if you want to see what I'm talking about, I'm going to put them up on my YouTube channel on the video. So I highly recommend you go check out them. But I know if you were on Instagram in the time that I was on Instagram, you probably know those cute little boxes that were just like absolutely adorable. But I found that Instagram was super innocent and it was just like cute little pictures of my feet with my friends. And we were doing like cute little signs with our hands, like infinity signs, and like just like super, really, really innocent stuff. And Instagram was super, super low key and not the way it is today. For me, I remember things like shifting over time where it just became more serious. It became like there was a lot more feelings around Instagram. So like feelings of having to make content beautiful, having to look like a certain way, like a model, look like the beauty standards were crazy. And there was also this pressure of the feeling that you had to be perfect or you had to act like you were perfect. And so like over time, this like just slowly started to develop. And I would post a little bit, but every time I would like freak out and I'd be like, oh my gosh, it has to be perfect. Like it's not perfect. And just like little things like that. I just find it so interesting how intense I thought about Instagram. Like I deleted stuff after and like I was like, nope, this is not good enough. This is perfect. This looks good. And like I would just like make sure everything was perfect on Instagram. And it was kind of this thing that was installed in all of us over time. And so, yeah, I posted a little bit and then I kind of stopped in like, I want to say like early to late high school, where I just kind of was like, it's too much pressure. I don't take good photos. Like I was doing crazy things like starting my business and doing a bunch of things. And I had a business page that I felt completely comfortable posting pictures, but it's like having my peers and having a certain group of followers on there. I just did not feel comfortable posting about me and all the fun things that I was doing. But I always took pictures. I always acted like I was going to post them, but I just never did. Because I think the biggest thing is I felt insecure and I had a fear of judgment. Now, I don't know if I'm the only one here, but like, please give me like a holler, raise your hand if you felt this way at some point on social media where you're just so scared of what other people are going to think, because that's where I was at. Like, I wouldn't even think about posting anything because I was so, so, so nervous of what people would think of me, what would change of their opinion of me. Like, it was just like, it was crazy amounts of pressure for no reason. And yeah, I think it's really comes down to why I wasn't posting anymore was because I was so afraid of what others would think and say about me. And then we move into or like later into high school, like I think it's grade 12 or end of grade 11, where I had this mentor who really pushed me and was like, what is the worst? Like, what's stopping you? Like, why do you care what they think? And like this mentor was challenging my beliefs that I had about social media and about everything being perfect. And so I sat down and I looked at all of these amazing, cool pictures that I had taken and all these cool trips I've been on. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start posting them. And like, even though they're from like a year ago, I don't even care. I'm just going to put the date and like a nice little quote. Like if you go to my Instagram, you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see the posts that I'm talking about. They look a little yellow because I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, like I'm going to try to make it aesthetic. So yeah, they're a little yellow. Some of them are really yellow. Some of them I'm like, oh, that's cute, but I might have gone a little overboard with editing. But I mean, hey, I was getting content out there and I was pushing myself out of my comfort zone and it felt good to use those. So, I mean, hey, it's fine. Start posting, push through that fear. And I really wanted to send a message of who I was. A person who likes to travel, who cares about their family, who likes exploring and camping, like crafty, I guess we could say that. Like I wanted to show people who I was, a businesswoman. As a young adult, that's what I wanted to do. So I really picked certain photos for certain reasons and added quotes to them for certain reasons, because again, my main purpose for a long time has been to inspire. So I was like, how can I mix all these things together? So the part where some issues came up of when I started posting, and this was already an issue before, and I know lots of people experience this, is like the likes. How many likes do you get? And obsessing over them. And I remember being like so obsessive about how many people liked my image, why I didn't get more, why I didn't get less, like overthinker brain, just like making everything worse. But it got really, really bad and really, really toxic, because that type of behavior is not the best for your mind, because essentially what you're doing is you're aligning your worth with the amount of likes you get, with the amount of views you do, with that you get. And I did this. Oh my gosh. I thought if I didn't get a certain amount of views, or if I didn't get a certain amount of likes, or a certain amount of followers, I just felt like garbage, or I felt less worthy, which is like so wrong. And I'm going to talk more about worthiness in a little bit, but I want to keep going with my experience. So grade 12 hits, TikTok comes out. I get TikTok. I don't post very much. I was more just silly. And of course, when my grade 12 ended, it was kind of like, boom, pandemic time. So what was everybody doing? Making TikToks. Did I have the guts to post them? Absolutely not. But I was still having fun making them. And Reels also came out too at the same time. So if you don't know what Reels are, Reels and TikToks are like short 30-second videos that they're good. They're short 30-second videos that are of whatever you want. And they're really cool. And I was really, really excited when Reels and TikToks came out, but more Reels, because I was like, oh, I love videos. I have so many videos. And I'm like, this is going to be awesome. And what kind of came out of that was I was like, oh my gosh, like addicted to posting Reels and addicted to getting the views. And like some would get 100, some would get 1,000 plus. And then I'd be like, again, going in that really negative mindset, because like every time I took like 5 steps forwards in the positive thinking, likes don't matter. Like I shouldn't be doing this for likes. I should be doing it because I want to do it. And every time I took a couple steps forward, I take a couple steps back, and that's okay. That's fine. It happens to everyone, but it's like a very interesting experience. And so then the cycle again became that I cared about how many views I got and would like go crazy about it, and been like literally going on my phone, reloading, like watching it every single minute. Like I was crazy, hyper focused on it. And it's so bizarre to me. I actually had a hard time remembering what I was like, because I've changed so much that I'm like, I can't even believe I did that now. Because I'm like, I do not even like, I was just like, I was having a hard time remembering and imagining me be like this, because now I'm so different with social media, nowhere even close. Like it's so crazy how much my perspective and everything has changed on this. But it was like, it was like hard to remember. But I do remember this one time, and I was like freaking out, and I'm very family orientated. So my family was there and they know about all my postings. And I'm like, did you see my post? Like, did you like it? Like all that. And I was like literally being so obsessive. And I was like, oh no, this one only has like 10 views, and like freaking out. And my dad actually said something to me, I remember. And he was the one who kind of reminded me, that was like, why are you freaking out so much about this? Like, you need to stop doing, he literally said to me, you need to stop doing this if this is how you're going to act. And it was like, okay, reality check. Like, what am I doing? Like, huge reality check, because someone in your close circle is like, you're not okay. What are you doing? Like, what? Like, like, which is a good thing. I honestly am so grateful for that. And it made me think, like, why am I doing this? Because he's like, why are you doing this? Why do you care so much about these views? If you're going to care so much about these views, you need to stop, because it's making you go insane up here. Like your brain, you're just going crazy about these likes and these views and these videos and these photos. And he's like, you're going to need to stop if that's how you're going to treat this. And I was like, woo, wise words from Papa Joe. It was literally like, okay, I need to think about this. And I don't remember what else he said, but I remember there was a pivot there for me. I started like breaking down, like, why do I care so much? Why do I attach so much of my worth to this? And like just started digging more into like what he was saying. And kind of after that reality check, that's when everything started to change for me. Now, it wasn't like a straight up, straight arrow, up climb, like, woo, this is easy now. It has been a bumpy path, but I am pretty confident in where I'm at now. As I was in a very toxic position. I was posting for gratification. I was posting for validation. I was attaching my worth to every post. So one that would get 60 likes and one that would get 130 likes, my feelings about myself would change. And like, it was so toxic to then being like, okay, thank you. I need to realize that this is not healthy, and move into a space now where I don't even look at that anymore. Like, I don't even care how many people have liked it. I more just hope that it will help or affect someone in a positive way to one person, just one person. I hope it affects one person in a positive way. That's all I really care about. And I think it's really interesting because a part of like the way that I am, and I know a lot of my generation is, and a lot of the older generation as well, is where we just have this habit to like pick up our phone every time a notification goes off, have this need and this like natural thing that we just feel like we need to look at our phones all the time. And like that like was where it got me. Like I just like was like always picking it up. I was always seeing the notifications. I was always looking at it. And sometimes it's very exciting to see how many views you're getting, and sometimes it really blows up and you're like woo, but a lot of the times it's very toxic, and it's like it can bring you down to almost a crippling state where you get in your head, and it's not a nice thing. So it's so crazy because we are showing our highlight reels, and that day that we post a picture from one of our good days, we might not be having a great day, but we don't share the hard times. We share the rough times. And this has been piquing my interest a lot lately. And just the fact that on Instagram, especially, we've been trained to just show the perfect, the highlight, and the good stuff, not a lot of the bad stuff. Now, I'm not saying not everyone, like, this is not like everyone does this, but a lot of people are focused on taking the best photos, taking the best stuff. And there's some people who do the opposite and who are being more vulnerable, which is so amazing. But I'm saying majority of the people I feel are like on that route. And it's just like, it's so crazy. And that's why there's a big difference between Instagram and TikTok, in my opinion, because on Instagram, these are my feelings also, just so you know, my feeling towards Instagram is still very much so you have to be put together. You have to have the perfect photo. They have to have the perfect aesthetic, the perfect cover. Whereas TikTok, for me, I'm just like, I can be myself. I can be real. I can have a messy bun. Where on like Instagram, I'm like, oh, my hair needs to look perfect. And like, so there's still those things, but like the very interesting thing is that TikTok has like purposely like created that environment where it's like, just be you, be unique, and just share your thoughts. Like there's so many things that I share on my TikTok that I do not even share on my Instagram, because I'm like, like I'm trying to get to a point where I can post on both of them. But I feel so comfortable with my TikTok community, which is only like 100 and something people. But I just feel so much more comfortable to be vulnerable, to be open, to be real. Really, the part that is the most challenging on mental health and on people is, again, I mean, I'm sure this goes on TikTok too, but I'm speaking from my experience. So Instagram is from us feeling like we have to be perfect and show all the good things, and we never show all the bad things. And I've been learning how installed this is in us, because I've been trying to be more vulnerable on my social media page. And it is so hard. It is so hard because, again, that feeling of what will people think? And do people think that I'm just trying to get pity when I share my hard parts? Like, it's like so crazy how challenging it is to be open and vulnerable on Instagram, because we're trained to just show perfect and our good things and all the exciting and highlight reels. Literally, it is it's highlights of our lives. And I'm really, really trying. And I just recently opened up about some of my struggles that I've been having. And it was so interesting because I was so nervous to do it, because I didn't want people to like pity me. That's like the last thing I want. My whole intention and goals of sharing when I'm going through a rough time is to help people know that they're not alone. And just so people are aware that not everything is perfect all the time. I think it's so, 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 so important that people know that I have bad days, I have good days, I have days where I want to spend the whole day in my bed. And then I also have days where I get up super early and I'm super productive and I get a lot done and I have meetings and videos and like all these different things. And so it's really going against the grain, which like feels so, so weird to do, because not a lot of people do it. More and more every day I'm finding, yes, people are doing it, but it's like extremely hard, because I don't want to go on there and be like, oh, guys, I just had like the worst day. This happened and this happened. I want to be the light. I want to be like, guys, guess what? Like, this is the best. I saw this quote. Like, I want to share it with you. Like, I want to be the light, but I am realizing now the powerfulness of being open and showing your dark parts and just like just being real and vulnerable. Like that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, of just being real and vulnerable. So I'm really working on that and trying to be more vulnerable and more open on my social media. And I feel like it's coming slowly, but I'm doing it one little step at a time. And so I'm very, very excited and very grateful that I even have the opportunity to do such a thing, despite me being so afraid, and it's scary and it's hard. But I really, really, really believe that it's important that people see highs and lows. And do you want to know why I think it is? Well, this leads me perfectly into my next point. So, what happens to you? I'm going to ask you this question to think about. What happens to you after you close a social media app? Do you feel inspired and motivated? Do you feel sad? Do you feel down on yourself? Do you feel bad about yourself? Do you feel mad? Do you feel angry? How do you feel when you leave a social media app? I want you to think about that, because for me, for a long time, I left a social media app feeling really bad about myself, feeling really down and demotivated because of comparison. Now, how this flows really nice into each other is when people are only showing their highlight reels and you're going on social media on all the days, on the good days, on the bad days, you are automatically going to compare yourself to them. But what happens is you're not feeling great and you're comparing yourself to where you are at that moment. So let's say I'm laying in bed and I'm looking through some photos and I see someone's on vacation living their best lives. And I'm like, right now I'm in bed. Like I'm comparing my situation to where they are in vacation. And I usually don't feel very good after that. It's so important that we don't compare our low points to someone's high points, which happens every single day on social media. And that is why I left social media feeling very demotivated, very unworthy, very just, it was just, I felt sad a lot of the time and negative towards myself because I would see people doing great things and I wasn't doing great things at the moment because I was going through something. But there was no gentleness in there. It was literally just, this person's doing better than me and I'm just going to compare myself to that person. And I think it's something that's not always bad. Like we immediately, like we all compare ourselves to others, which is like a big thing that we recognize that like you're not the only one that does this. You're not like crazy for comparing yourself all the time. Like lots of people do this, but it's just like something to start becoming more aware of and trying to limit as well. And there's this quote, it's like comparison is the killer of joy. And that statement couldn't be more true than anyone. And so, an example from my life of how I tried to stop comparing myself as much, it still happens, but as much, is I went through and I unfollowed people that weren't serving me, that weren't making me happy, that weren't inspiring me, that weren't doing the key things that I'm looking to get when I go on social media. And so, there was this one person that's an influencer and I've been following them for a while. And it was really hard for me to see their posts all the time because I wanted that lifestyle so much. Now, this has nothing to do with that person and has everything to do with myself. That's huge to acknowledge. But for me, I just saw their life and I was like, I want that. How did they get that? Like, they're so young and they've achieved so much. Like, how are they doing that? And every single time I saw a post, whether it was intentionally or subconsciously, I would just feel bad about myself, where I was at, and that I wasn't doing enough to get to where I wanted to go. And that was a very interesting learning curve for me because I subconsciously started doing it. And so every single time I see a photo, leave the app, I feel demotivated. And again, that feeling of I need to do more, I'm not doing enough. And it's a pretty vicious cycle. And it was crazy to just see the effect that that person really had on me when I took away their account from my page. I went into my following and I went through and I took away everyone who wasn't serving me, anyone. Now, this is still a little bit hard because I still have like kids from my high school and my elementary that I'm like, I don't want to unfollow. They're doing no harm literally being there. But there was some things where I'm like, why am I even following this person? Like they provide me with no value whatsoever. And so I go through, and if there's someone that made me feel bad about myself, immediately unfollow and just give it a good clean. And again, just like a reminder that it really has nothing to do with them and had everything to do with me, because I saw something that I really wanted and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get right away, at least. And so it's like it was more of a me thing and not a them thing, which is very important to state, because there's nothing wrong with people having the best life, sharing their awesomeness on the internet. It's just making sure that you're in a good mental state and that you're getting what you need to get and not feel bad about yourself. Before I wrap things up and get into the strategy, I want to talk about the little bit of a shift that I've been seeing in social media, really since TikTok's come out, really since 2022, and that now we're starting to look more at the views versus how many likes. And I think that's really, really awesome, because there is oftentimes way more views than likes. And I love the shift from views to likes because it's so much more positive. Like, people are busy. They're not always going to like things, but it's like, yeah, I got 300 views versus like 5 likes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a really big positive way to look at like how many people are actually watching you, looking at you versus interacting, which, I mean, there's a fine line between the both, but it's just exciting to know that people are actually seeing your stuff. There's parts of my life, parts of my social media story where I was really, really high up, like really good, really not caring. And then I kind of come back down and I'm caring a lot about everything and blah, 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 freaking out, caring about likes and views. And then I kind of come back up. And I want to tell you, that's completely normal if you've experienced that too, because it's always a work in progress. Everything in life is a work in progress, but it's just being able to spot the addictions, like always being on your phone, always scrolling. Like, I noticed that I would literally go on my phone and just start scrolling whenever I was like the slightest little bit of bored or waiting for someone, instead of just like taking in my surrounding and like looking outside my window and reading or doing something or just letting myself be bored. And so it's really, really important that you watch yourself. And I encourage you in the next couple of weeks to really just watch yourself and your patterns with social media and your phone and going on it. Because when I started paying attention and looking at screen time, I was like, oh, Selina, like, yikes, that's a lot of time on social media. And then that's kind of where it started for me. I saw my screen time and I was like, that's too many hours a day to be on social media. And then I started catching myself going on my phone a lot. And then I was like, okay, I need to, stop going on my phone so much. So like, it's kind of like noticing the issue, breaking it down, using your supports around you. And to tie this all up with a nice pretty ribbon, I hope this conversation, that the story time with Selina, made sense, because I kind of feel like I was all over the place. But really my point being is that social media grows with us, grows to different phases. There's different feelings. There's feelings of fear of judgment. Then there's pushing through those barriers, pushing through those feelings, putting yourself out there, failing, trying again, doing new things. And then new things come into the play and you're reintroduced to new feelings and new things that you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And like, feeling, oh, what are people going to say about me if I start posting this? And so there's like all of these things where you grow and you move and then new things come in. But at the end of the day, a really big thing, if you take anything from this, is that to not tie your worth to social media, likes, comments, followers, because you are worthy. You are worthy just for being you. You are worthy from the day that you've been on this earth. You do not need to prove anything on social media or show anything on social media, because you are amazing just for being you, despite you having 100 followers, 5 followers, to having 1 million followers. You are You have so much worth. And I don't want you to forget that. It's kind of a reminder for me as well, because it gets hard. It gets hard sometimes. So now we're going to wrap it all up with strategies to make your social media a more positive place and making it a place where you feel more confident when you leave. So tip number one, or strategy number one, is when you post, leave that app and say goodbye. Now, this is not the advice I'd give to someone if they're trying to grow their business, but if you're trying to work on these feelings and these things with social media, that is the tip I give you, is to kind of post, leave the app and don't check. Be like, it doesn't matter. That's what I say to myself. It doesn't matter how many views I get. As long as I put myself out there, that's all that matters. And I repeat that to myself. And again, to just not, on this tip I wrote down, to just not measure your worth by it, because it doesn't matter at the end of the day how many views or likes you get on a video. You're still you, you're still amazing, you're still awesome. So do not tie your worth to it. That was strategy number one. So to just leave the app once you've posted and come back later with a fresh mind to engage. Don't constantly go back and check. I know you want to. I wanted to, but fight yourself on that. See the things that come up for you when you're doing that. It's going to be a really interesting exercise for you. Step two, which I've already said, or strategy two, which I've already said, but again, go through your followers and unfollow people and accounts that are not serving you. Do it. Me and Morgan talked about this in her episode, in episode number 18. Again, I highly recommend you go check out that conversation. It was very, very awesome. But again, unfollow people that are not serving you, or mute them. Just do it. I promise. It'll make it so much better. And follow the accounts you want to follow, like cooking or quotes or motivation or sewing or art. Like, I don't know what you like, but make your feed be the way you like it. That is strategy three, is spend less time on those apps. Now, I know that is a personal goal for me this year. And here is one thing that has literally blown my mind that I can't believe has worked so much. I turned off the notifications for my TikTok and Instagram, and my screen time has never been lower. I talked earlier about notifications in this conversation and having the need to pick up your phone when you have a notification. I had like thousands of Instagram notifications all the time because there's multiple businesses on there. But me turning off my notifications has been life-changing, because I don't know what it is. And Instagram keeps being like, are you sure you want your notifications off? And I'm like, yes, girl, keep them off. I don't want to see it. But it has really helped me, because now I'm going into the app because I'm choosing to go into the app. I'm not going into the apps because there's a notification for me. So that's like my mind-blowing tip that I'm like, I'm sure you've heard before. I've heard before, but like every single time, like I never did it before, finally did it this year. Just crazy the impact of those notifications you get. And if you're on Facebook all the time, turn your Facebook notifications off. All the apps are trying to get you to spend time on the app. So they're going to do whatever they can. They're going to send things like, this person's going live, this person's talking about this is happening on this page, someone did this. Like, they are going to try to get you on the app as much as they can with notifications. So take that power away and restore that power. Take that power back and decide that I am going to open up this app right now. The fourth thing, which is probably the most important, is be gentle with yourself. You are doing your best. Remember that. You are doing your best. You can always do better next week. If you have a really bad week where you're on your phone a lot and you're letting people control your emotions on social media, and you're feeling really negative, and you're getting back into that I'm scared of posting vibe, that's okay. But just be gentle on yourself and remember that there's always next week. Well, this week I didn't do so great on my screen time, but next week I'm going to try all over again. This week I didn't post as much because I didn't feel as confident, but I have next week. Just try to be as gentle as you can on yourself in all areas of your life. I'm telling you, it is going to serve you in great ways. That is the experience I've had. The more gentle I am on myself, the better, despite anxiety wanting me to put more pressure and freak out about things. Being gentle and being calm, being gentle on yourself is another big thing. Okay, The fifth strategy or tip, I'm not really sure what this one is. You are not perfect. I'm not perfect. So stop trying to achieve something that is not possible. Nobody can be perfect. Some days you are going to get trapped in that loop. Some days you're going to feel those fears of judgment. Some days you're going to feel demotivated, and that's okay. Just remember that you're human and you don't have to be perfect, and you shouldn't try to be perfect, which is rich coming from me because I have struggled with perfectionism my whole life, still working on it, still have days where I feel like I have to be perfect, but just remembering that it's okay. Again, tip number 4 coming in, just being gentle with yourself, and that's all you need to do. Okay, I don't know how long I've been talking, but I'm pretty sure it's been like over 45 minutes, which like this should not have taken that long, but that's fine. So to kind of bring this full circle around, finish up, wrap this all up, is that sometimes being famous, getting the likes, getting the views is not all that it's talked up to be. Heard a lot of things. I've seen a lot of shows lately that have talked about the real side of fame, and that it might not seem as good as it actually is, and that there's still a lot of challenges when you get fame, and there's ongoing growth that needs to happen. So in that, I leave with you, you are worthy despite your followers, your likes, your social media presence, your followers, everything. You are worthy. And thank you again for joining me today. I had so much fun talking to you about this. If you want to continue the conversation about social media, or if you have tips you want to share, please let me know. I'd love to sit down and talk with you, or let you talk to my community to just continue the conversation about the real mental health struggles and the real issues that come up around social media and ways that we can better ourselves. So thank you so much. Before I finish, just a reminder, please leave that review if you have time today. It would mean the world to me, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.